Hello class, Dr. Mike here. This is from my CIS-2808 Introduction to Digital Forensics. This is sort of a topic 2, week 2 extra video. So there's actually a different video about the basics of digital evidence and going into the Department of Justice chapters 2 and 3. This one is actually about one of the things you'll go over in the class, which is the operating system. So in topic 2, we actually have a lab where you'll need to create your own forensics VM. And there's some instructions in the Dropbox on what to submit. Currently, at the time of this video, this assignment has you submitting a blank Word document PDF with a screenshot of your terminal. And the instructions will be there, but that could change over time, so please be sure to always check for the latest instructions in your assignment. What I want to do is talk about the different operating systems for forensics work. These open source. Now, of course, we know Windows, and there are tons of commercial available software suites. But there are actually operating systems that have forensics tools in them, and some that have forensics tools really as it's a fully dedicated forensics operating system. And so you can choose either one of these or have multiple of these for the class. And what I'll talk about is the textbook also. So the textbook, we don't really cover chapter 2. You notice we do chapter 1 in topic 1, and then later on we jump into chapter 3 and 4 and so on. Chapter 2 is open source platform, examination platform. It's sort of really just a list of how-tos to install different stuff, different things within Windows, and configuring different tools using make and version control, Perl and Python. All these tools come pre-installed already. Python and Perl, I believe, already installed. Even on my Mac, you get those already installed. Linux already has those installed and so on. Ruby, if you need them, you'll install those separately. So this chapter doesn't really have too much to offer, but the idea behind this is the second part is using Windows host. Now, I'm not going to talk about using Windows in this video, but you could find yourself using a handful of tools, and you want to use your host operating system. You don't want to use a dedicated or different operating system, either in a virtual machine or on a different machine entirely. And this actually goes for me too, and not with forensics per se, more cybersecurity work I do. I have Kali Linux, and we'll talk about that in a second. I have Kali in a virtual machine on a different laptop, but really it's a Linux laptop. I end up installing all the tools I use almost all the time to be native, just because it's easy to use, right? Things like, example, Nmap and SQL map and Metasploit framework, things like that. I just install local. So now it's cybersecurity, but you can find yourself in the same suite for this course even. Saying, well, I might think I only need to use a handful of tools. I can actually set those up in my Windows, if you have Windows, my Windows host, my Windows machine. And so the chapter talks about that. So that could be handy. Again, it's up to you if you want to go down that road to make your Windows machine a forensics platform, but feel free to give it a try. So beyond the textbook, though, I do talk about some of the main open source, since that is really the drive of this course, is to look at open source tools, is the operating systems you can use. Now, the first one, of course, here is Kali. Kali is really well known, really known as a sort of cybersecurity, the hacker's operating system. I have a copy of it here, and how I got the copy, and I'll tell you I did, is you can definitely go to the documentation page for Kali. You go to the official site. There's some good documentation here. Please, there's some great documents here. I think there's a PDF on how to administer Kali Linux. It's for free, somewhere buried inside here. So look it over. But you can download what's called an ISO file. Now, really, here's what I'm going to suggest. If you're going to run this in a virtual machine, I actually skip this and go down to, you can get links to, here we go, VMware VirtualBox downloads directly. Now, I'm not going to go into VMware VirtualBox, parallels, whatever. Hopefully by the time you're in my class, you've been through virtualization lessons from everything from introduction to operating systems, all the way through the classes you've dealt with virtualization. So please Look at VirtualBox VMware, which you get a license for free through the school. VirtualBox is fantastic; it's free. Look at these separately. I'm not going to cover these in this video. But what I do have here is when you go to this link, you can just download. There we go. You can download basically the actual VM files. So it's still a pretty big download. But so I get the 64-bit VMware. You download it, you extract it, and you open it, and it's running. I think I did go into the settings and tweak the settings, a few things on the settings. I think from mine. But again, that's up to you. Nice thing is you don't have to worry about installing it. You don't have to go through the installation process. It's basically a pre-installed VM image, and that's what this is here. I don't have it running right now, but you can see there it is. Works out great. So Kali's fantastic. Now Kali itself is a big operating system. There's actually a tools.kali.org tool listing, which is fantastic. So this actually takes all those tools that come installed, and you can at least look at it and go, okay, well, here's the forensics tools that are installed. I mean, as well as exploration tools and vulnerability assessments and wireless attacks. But this puts all these tools sort of into little categories. This is a fantastic, very helpful page. And if I'm not sure what Dumpzilla is, I can at least click on it. I can see, okay, it's a Python 3, it's forensics information from Firefox, Iceweasel, and so on. So, it's a great resource here, and it gives you a link to the homepage and the repos if there's a repo. And it's usually some examples of usage here. These examples are pretty sparse, but the best thing is you at least understand what the tool is, and you can see a link to the homepage. So yeah, this is a great little tools.kali.org. Or just Google Kali tools, and you'll come with the first hit should be this. This is fantastic because iPhone Backup Analyzer, here we go. So you literally can find, you can see the tools that come installed with Kali and get an idea about which ones, at least for forensics. In any case, if you use Kali for other work, other security work, you at least can see what tools are in where. And honestly, I use this when I do pen testing. I'll come here and say, I need to do some information gathering. I forgot what look at all these tools are available. Half these I don't know what they are. So you almost get an overabundance of tools. So this is a fantastic utility. So I just want to show you that real quick here. But again, Kali is a great OS, and the good thing is, if you install it, if it's missing something that we go through in the class, you could probably just install it within your virtual machine. And that's where that chapter 2 comes in. And honestly, I would just go to the main homepage for the tool. So let's say you want to use a specific tool we talk about in one of the labs, it's not in Kali. You should be able to find that homepage and find a way to, and it should give you instructions to either you apt-get or whatever, or install, or download the source and set it up. Most open source tools are going to have some sort of way to give you the code and or the ability to install it. So Kali is a fantastic one. Definitely grab it. You can see it here. I have it. I'm using VMware Fusion here in this case. But yeah, I would suggest downloading the image. It's so much easier. It's going to save you a lot of time. So that's all. So Kali is definitely an option you can look at. Now we do actually use Kane and Deft. Now these are in NetLabs, and they're not bad. There's one's real old, and we'll talk about that in a second. But now let's talk about Kane. So the Kane project, there's a link on the page here how to install it. To be honest, it's a pain to install. I do have it here. I have Kane. You can see it over here. I have it on an SSD. I couldn't get this set up. Now, I didn't try too hard. I tried a couple of things. You got to unlock destination. I tried to run the installer. It just would error out. But what I did was this. And these are just my tips I will give you. Let's see if I can see the settings here. So I set up, let's see, virtual disk. I set up basically a bootable OS, and then I booted the Kane OS, and it's run as a bootable system. So it's right here. Yeah, here's Kane ISO. So this is now currently connected, but this is in a pause state. So I just booted into it, and it's actually fired up, and I'll show it to you. So, and as a tip here, I'll show you. Notice I pause a lot of my virtual machines. I don't really shut them down. It's a nice thing about virtualization. I don't have to go and reboot the OS. In the case of Kane, where I actually didn't install it, I actually just created a bootable sort of framework virtual machine that boots the ISO, and underneath there's just a bunch of blank disk. What I did was I mounted that disk. So, and what it allowed me to do was I mounted the disk as read-write, and you can see there's a 9.7 gigabyte volume here. And so there's really not that much space because I'm working off the ISO image. So what I did was I mounted this 9.7 gigabyte volume here, and here I have, I put folders here for case 1, case 2, and so on. And then I work out of this directory here. So if I go to the Kane home directory, Kane's home here, you can see there's some room to work, but really I work out of this 9.7 gigabyte volume here. So that's all. Just I create a standard VM for Kane to boot into, or it's booted. It's a bootable OS as from the ISO image. But then I just take the underlying disk. I went through and manually formatted it and just mounted it, and I just mount it manually. So this is why I don't reboot the VM. I just keep it running. So it's sort of a workaround. If you can get the install to work, cheers. I couldn't. So again, I don't really shut down. I just pause my virtual machines. Much easier. But actually, Kane's got some great tools. I believe I actually used this to go through what would be your finals, the final two cases. I used Kane, I believe, in here. I did actually use Kane and a couple other operating systems. See which ones I liked. So this is a tip with Kane. There's all kinds of instructions on videos how to install it. I think it's actually the instructions for the wrong version. But in any case, feel free to grab it. I believe there's a download ISO. You can download the ISO. Yeah, and then recommend to pause the VM. Don't shut it down. I do it with all my VMs anyways. Way easier. Deft. So here's Deft. Now Deft is actually not it's officially end of life. So there is, close Kane here. There is a DistroWatch, which if you've never seen DistroWatch, is a huge site for all Linux. A majority of almost any Linux distribution, and Deft's on here, and there's links to the 2017, the last release of it, and you go to the mirrors. You'll find a mirror for it, and you grab the ISO. I think it's 8.2. So you download the ISO file. You can see that here. And again, as I said before, I created what would be sort of a bootable, just a blank VM that I end up using. And I don't think I actually installed it, if I remember correctly. It is just the same way. I think it's just a bootable OS. Get the file manager here. Oh, okay. There we go. So yeah, media evidence. I think I may have created a I don't think I use this one too much. Yeah. So I think I have it set up for demonstration, but I don't really use it too much for actual use. So feel free to try it out. If you can get it installed, I believe you should be able to find a way. I think Deft is actually used as a bootable OS also. So again, you can just give it a try. Look at the instructions. But again, this is an aged OS. And again, but you're going to run into Deft in the NetLabs, so you might like it. I actually did like Kane. I actually liked it from the NetLab, so actually that's why I used it here. Deft, I didn't really use too much. So Kali, again, I won't boot it, I won't fire it, but Sift is the other one. Sans Sift is a huge one, actually. I won't fire it up here. You'll seen a lot of these Linux OSs before. This one actually can install, and I was able to get. Now you have to set up a free account for SANS, which I definitely suggest if you're going to get any kind of cybersecurity, you're going to get into forensics, go and set up a free account. After you do, you can download, actually, almost like you saw before, you can download, they call the OVA file, which you can actually import into VirtualBox, or in my case, I imported it in here into VMware Fusion. So again, it's almost like Kali, where you don't have to actually install it. Very handy. It comes with the username and password already on there. And there's some instructions I grabbed here for creating one within VirtualBox. And there's your login and password. Now those are the default ones. Change it if you like. I did find there's not a lot of the tools I needed to install actually manually. So I don't know the difference between Kali and SIFT were that much of a difference. But again, I would suggest having a couple of these hanging around. It's going to be nice. It's nice to have several operating systems. So that's just to give you some tips about getting your operating system for your forensics work set up. Again, this is for 2808 specifically, and this is an extra video for week 2, so topic 2. So hopefully this is at least give you some hints and tips to get you going. All right, thanks a lot.